I'm Bree.
And I'm Hannah.
We met through our shared obsession with romance and fantasy novels.
And honestly, we haven't stopped talking about books since.
Each week, we're sharing what we're reading, sharing our opinions,
and spilling all the tea about our lives.
So whether you're here for book recs, hot takes, or you just want to hang out with us for a bit,
you're in the right place. We're also talking about life, sharing our highs and lows,
and having the kind of conversations we'd have over margaritas.
Welcome to Chapter Chats. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chapter Chats. It's been a while.
We're back, kind of.
This is one of the few times I feel like we're going to be recording and posting within the same week, so we're very current.
Yeah,
today,
we're up to date.
Which really just means, like, very behind on everything.
You know.
So we took a 2-week break. Sorry about that, team. Do you want to get into highs and lows? I think that'll kind of illuminate the people as to where we've been. All of our loyal listeners, millions of them.
My high this week is that I am in the process of buying a house. And it's not 100%, but it's like 80%.
It's in the process. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went and toured yesterday. I did like the final look throughs of where I want it to be built and everything. So I'm supposed to be looking over the contract in the next couple days, and that'll be really, really exciting. Can't wait. And
that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. I feel like sometimes things like that just feel monotonous and it's just the next step of being an adult. But then you're like, no, that's a huge thing. So
yeah,
I'm very excited, hoping it all works out and keeps going the way that I want it to go. And then I can finally have my own place, which would be perfect. And be settled after
so
years.
Great.
Yeah. I've been if you have not followed my life story for 5 years, like most of you probably haven't, I've literally
What are you guys doing? You're supposed to follow everything.
Yeah. I've been moving all over the country, all over Oklahoma City to different houses, apartments, everything. So I'm ready to have a place of my own and be settled.
Yeah, what's the longest you've been in a place since? I've been living now, right?
Yeah, I think I've been in my parents' farm now for a year and a half.
Which is not super long. So
I think it's only a year and 2 months actually, because I moved in January of 2025. So yeah, so literally a year and 3 months-ish.
It'll be a big change, but very fun.
Yes, very exciting. Can't wait. Hoping it all works out well. And then my low, if you had listened to any of the other episodes before this, I think I had talked about how my high was going to Hawaii. Well, update, it freaking sucked. It's more of a Hawaii.
Barely went.
Yeah. I was there for 24 hours. It's basically a Hawaii horror story. I don't know if you have watched the weather or the news over the last couple weeks, but Hawaii is basically in a 100-year monsoon storm that's destroying all of its beaches and everything, and it's terrible. Well, the Friday that the storm first hit, my brother and sister-in-law and baby niece flew into the storm. It's torrential downpouring. Their flight's terrible. They land. If you've never been to Hawaii, their airport is an open airport. So it's literally just a bunch of open walls. So the rain is flying into the airport as they're trying to get their bags. The car rental is outside. They have to stand in line in 3 hours in the pouring rain with a 5-month-old baby because all these flights have been canceled. So everyone's trying to find cars. They finally get a car. They can't get to the other side of the island because all the roads are closed. So they get to another hotel. It has no power. The hotel charges them $800 even though they have no power because all these flights have been canceled. All these people want rooms. Crazy. So the next morning, we haven't heard from them in 10 hours at this point because all their phones died because there's no power. Jeez. But we're just assuming it'll probably be fine because nothing's going on and it says everything's going through. So we get on our flight to Hawaii and we're about 3 hours in, and my aunt and uncle and their kids are supposed to be coming to Hawaii as well. And they're on a flight that leaves basically 2 hours behind our flight. And so they text us while we're over the Pacific Ocean and they're like, "Oh, our flights are canceled. Have fun." And I was like, wait, what? So we look, and literally every flight after ours was the last flight to get out, which was totally a God thing, because I can't imagine if my brother and my sister-in-law and my baby niece were stuck in Hawaii alone. Trying to figure this out would not be good for them. So we were literally the last flight out. We get to Hawaii, and we talked to a cop in the airport who was extremely unhelpful. Not a fan of this cop. And we were like, hey, what's going on? Are the roads closed? They were. And he was like, you're fine. And he just walks away. And I was like, so he told us we're fine.
It's not his job to help you.
Yeah, but when you're a cop at an airport and there's hundreds of people who have nowhere to go and nothing to do and you can't drive on the roads, you'd think you would be helpful.
But he's probably talked to 8,000 other people.
Well, that's your job. You work at an airport. I'm like, you don't get to be, I'm like, what else is your job? You're just standing around doing nothing. There's no crime happening. So the least you can
You
do is
said
be
there's
helpful.
about to be.
Yeah, literally. I was like, okay, Dick. I mean, okay, sir. I just was like, what the heck? Anyway, excuse me. So we finally get our bags and we start to head to the roads because the cop told us they were all open. And he told a bunch of other people standing around us that they were all open. So we're all heading on the road because we're on the opposite side of the island from the airport. There's obviously the whole middle of the island is mountains, so you can't get there. So you have to drive around.
This is Maui, you said?
Yes, Maui. So we get like 20, not even 20, maybe 10 minutes from the airport. And suddenly there's all these cops in the road and they're just like, roads are closed. And so we roll down our window and we're like, oh, is there another way to go? And he's like, I don't know. The roads are closed. We're like, okay. Everyone in Hawaii is a little bit tense. Understandable, but you're working in public service. Trust me, I work in public service. You don't get to be a jerk to people because you chose that job. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, so we don't know where to go at this point. No place has power, so we're just driving around. We finally find a McDonald's because I haven't eaten in like 9 hours. So we find a McDonald's that has power, we pull in, we get food, and we're just trying to figure out where to go. We can't get to the other side of the island. All hotels are booked. Can't find a room. So we're trying to get an Airbnb, and we've messaged like 6 Airbnbs. We can't get anywhere. Finally, we find one hotel room, the only one available on this side of Maui, and it's at the Waldorf, and it's $1,500. So that's literally the only one. My
And the
sister-in-law
Waldorf's like hella expensive on like a normal day, so I bet that's, yeah.
My sister-in-law finally gets it down to like $900. And so we show up there and there's literally like 80 people who are like us that just have nowhere to go. And so we're all trying to get rooms. Then the ladies, we booked the room online for 5 people and a baby. We get there and the lady's like, sorry, it's only 4 people. We're like, well, can we do 5? She's like, no, if you have 5 people, you'll have to update to our suite, which is $20,000. So we lie. I hide in the car.
Don't worry, we're killing one of them, so.
Literally. I hide in the car. They book the room for the 4 of them. And then I sneak in the back into the hotel room. And you have to wear a wristband, so I can't leave the hotel room because they'll know that I am not supposed to be there. So we all get into the room finally. It's still pouring down rain. We all take showers, chill out, and we're like, we'll just wait because the weather said that it was supposed to be better the next day. So we're like, okay, maybe tomorrow they'll get the roads cleared. We'll be able to drive. So we go to sleep. At 2 a.m., my mom wakes me up and she's like, Brianna, I had a feeling I had to wake up. And I was like, what? It's 2 a.m. And the governor of Hawaii just announced a state of emergency, and they issued an evacuation order for the whole half of the island that we were supposed to go to. And they evacuated that whole half and was like, no one should go there. So at that point, we're like, okay, we got to figure out what to do. So me and my mom are in the bathroom of the Waldorf trying to figure out what to do. It's 2 a.m. I find tickets on a Southwest flight, 5 people, $400 a piece, that leaves at 9 a.m. So we go and wake up my dad, and we bring him into the bathroom of the Waldorf. We're all, because the baby is asleep in the room too, so we don't want to wake her up.
It's like the bathroom of the Waldorf.
Yeah. So we're all
with
talking.
The candlestick.
Literally. So we're all talking. My dad's like, let's just do it. Let's get out of here. So we wake them up and we're like, we're going to leave at 9 a.m. So we need to get to the airport by 5. So at this point, it's like 3:45. So we were like, we might as well just get up now and go. So we all get up, we pack our bags, we get to the airport. So our flight was from Maui to Honolulu, Honolulu to Oakland, California, and then Oakland, California to LA. And then Christiane, my sister-in-law's family, lives in San Diego, and they were going to drive to LA and pick us up at 10 p.m. that night. So we get there, everything's good, all the flights are fine. We talked to like 6 different families who had literally been sleeping in the Maui airport for 4 days on the floor. They have like 3-year-olds and they just can't get out because there's no flights because things are so crazy. I talked to one couple and they literally slept outside on a bench at the car rental place.
That's horrible.
Like, it was crazy. So we're sitting there and suddenly our flight gets delayed by like 30 minutes. And I was like, that's okay. We got a 2-hour layover in Honolulu. It gets delayed an hour. It gets delayed an hour and a half. We finally get on the plane. We get to Honolulu. And I'm like, that's fine. We have 40 minutes and we're still on time to Oakland. We're all good. No, the flight at Honolulu gets delayed 4 hours. It's crazy in there. There's the busiest airport I've ever seen in my life. It was psychotic. We finally went to talk to the lady because we'd been delayed so much we were going to miss our connecting flight. And the lady was like, there's literally no other flights. And it doesn't matter if you miss your connecting flight. You need to get off this island. Because if you don't get off today, you won't be leaving for another 5 days. And we were like, okay, so we're just going to get to California and whatever happens.
Very cool. Yeah.
I'm like, we'll be on the mainland. If we get to California, it's a long drive anywhere, but it doesn't matter because we'll be there. So we finally get on our flight. We get to Oakland. We've missed our connecting flight by like 2 hours, but they gave us a hotel room, which never happens with airlines anymore. I feel like they very rarely give you a hotel room or anything like that. So I thought that was crazy and very lucky, except for the fact that we land at I think we landed at midnight, and they rebooked us for a flight at 6 a.m. So
they're like, you can sleep, but only for 2 hours.
Yeah. So, but I was like, you know what? We'll still get like 4 hours. That's fine. And there's an airport shuttle. It's 3 minutes away from the airport. We're all good. We're waiting for our bags. We're waiting. We're waiting. We all get our bags. My brother's bag does not show up. It's midnight, or now it's 12:30. We can't find his bag. My brother is not good under stress. Worse than me, and I'm not good under stress. And he had just bought like a $500 pair of shoes, brand new, and put them in this bag. So he is freaking out. The baby
Huge
is
L.
crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, no, we scanned the baggage tag and it's here, blah, blah. And we're like, it's not here, lady.
Super
There's
cool.
no bags.
Find it then. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, someone must have taken it. And I was like, I was the first person at baggage claim. I watched every bag come out. I'm telling you, it's not there. So they finally keep doing research. Well, apparently there was another flight from Honolulu to Oakland that was supposed to leave earlier than us and got delayed longer than us. And so because it was originally supposed to show up earlier, they just put his bag on there because it's going to go to the same place. But now it's been delayed and it didn't land until 1:30 in the morning. So now we're waiting for his bag until 1:30 a.m. We finally get it. Then we go to the airport shuttle. It never comes. We wait for 30 minutes. Finally, we Uber. We get to the hotel. It's 2 a.m. We got to be back at the airport at 4. I was like, we all get to our rooms. We all shower. We sleep for like an hour. We wake up, make sure everything's packed. We take the airport shuttle back to the hotel or back to the airport. We get on the flight. We get to LA at like 10 a.m. I think, and my sister-in-law's parents pick us up, and then we drive another hour to San Diego. And then we spent 3 days in San Diego, which was fun, but not what I wanted to do. So that was my vacation. It was a really fun time. I loved it.
Yeah, I think you conveyed that really well.
Yeah, so maybe one day I'll go back to Hawaii, but it's gonna be a while because
you're scarred.
I have
Yeah.
PTSD.
I still have never been to Hawaii, so maybe one day we can take a reading retreat there or something. And
everyone I talked to was like, we've been coming for 20 years. We've never seen it like this. So it was definitely a fluke. It just reinforces the fact that I am very much unlucky. So the one time I get the chance to go to Hawaii and 100-year monsoon happens, there was literally my lady at Southwest who was helping me check my bags. She was from Indonesia. And she was like, I've only seen weather like this one time in my life. And it was during a literal monsoon that almost wrecked my entire island. And I was like, oh, that's fun.
You're like, amazing. Anyway, is my bag 50 pounds? Yeah.
I was like, this is a really fun time. I'm having so much fun learning about the weather.
Well, I'm glad you guys made it back because...
Yeah. At one point, I was like, I'm going to die on this island.
Just fun thoughts, yeah.
I was like, either from the weather or from my family taking each other out. It was one half dozen the other.
I had a really rough... Well, my flight got canceled on the way back from Scotland after my honeymoon, and I kind of felt the same way, where I was like, if we just get back in the U.S. somewhere,
it doesn't matter.
It will be fine from there. Like,
literally.
I cannot be on this island anymore. We gotta go.
I was like, it doesn't matter where in the mainland we get, because maybe a long drive, but I can get a car drive. Yeah. I was just like, at the end of the day, like once we're there,
I will purchase a new car and drive.
Literally. Yeah. I was like, but when you're on the island, there's nowhere to go. Like, you're just SOS.
Well, cheers. My high and low will be a little bit quicker. They kind of go together. I'll start with my low since it informs my high. So I, as I've talked about on previous episodes, went to Mexico, and I did actually go to Mexico as planned. So that was a win. And that was all fine. We got back after we were there for a week. And literally the day we got back, I don't know how I did this, but I sprained my back and literally couldn't walk or move or even like sit up for a solid like 2 weeks. It's been almost 3 weeks since this happened, and I'm now like pretty much back to full functioning, except I can't sit for long periods. So this episode will be a little bit shorter than usual, although maybe not since we have long stories.
I wanted you to know all the details.
No, I think it really illustrated it well, so that's good. And anyway, yeah, so that was horrible. It was very much like I should go to the hospital, but I don't know how I would even get there because I can't move.
Just roll ya.
So, yeah, that was a good time. I was like peeing into a bowl off the side of my bed for a week. It's fun. I have a walker now. I don't have to use it anymore, but I did briefly.
That's my favorite thing ever, when you texted me and you're like, I'm in severe pain. This is all happening. And then you're like, look, Michael bought me a walker. I was like, what?
He did. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so I did like no reading in Mexico, which was not my plan. I wanted to like read a bunch, but my very sweet mother-in-law is not one of those people who can just like sit and relax. Like we gotta be like doing stuff, which is fine if that was the plan, which I didn't realize that was the plan because we're at an all-inclusive resort in Mexico, which to me seems like we're gonna chill, we're gonna have a lot of daiquiris, lounge chairs, whatever. Anyway, so I did like no reading there, but I've gotten a lot of reading done since being literally in bed with nowhere to go the last couple of weeks. So I feel like I've been pretty much crushing it on the TBR front. But at what cost? So with that, today, recent reads. Give us yours.
My recent read, one of them was I'm still doing my Lent challenge. It actually ends on April 5th, so we're almost there to the end of it.
Yeah.
But this week I read a book called Pages of Promise by Jessica Ashley, which is basically like the Christian version of Catherine Cowles. Like it was a Christian romantic suspense, and it gave me all of the swoony,
this is the girl you were talking about with, okay.
Yes, I absolutely loved it. It made me feel the same way I feel when I'm reading Catherine Cowles, like the suspense, not knowing what's going on the edge of your seat. But the faith threads were really there and really prominent, and how they like leaned on prayer and on God and like the gospel, and I love that. And it's basically like our MMC was in the army. He suffers from PTSD.
Yeah, me too.
That.
That's what I have. So.
And now he lives in a small town in Maine, and him and two of his friends from the army all run the security office together in this really small town. She moves to town to get away from her abusive ex-husband, and she has a stalker, and all this stuff is going on, and she keeps getting attacked. So he like moves in and protects her and sets up her security system.
Big, strong, manly man.
Exactly. It was so good. I gave it 4 stars, but I literally loved all of it, and I can't wait to read more of them. She has like 5 different series of like Navy SEALs and Army men and just all kinds of like really manly men and Christian romantic suspense. So I loved it.
I'm glad you liked it. That sounds really good. I will add her to my list after, maybe I should start with Catherine Cowles. One day, I also have a romance, not a romantic suspense, though. It is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, which I think, has her new one come out yet? I don't think it does. I think it comes out in April.
I think it's come out.
Okay, well,
or at
so
least
it's
I've
not
seen
her
people reading
latest,
it.
but this was the one that came out last spring. And I feel like a lot of people, this is not their favorite Abby Jimenez, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a little bit different than her usual because it's a long distance relationship, which I feel like doesn't get featured in a lot of romances generally. But I really liked it. I think Abby Jimenez does a great job putting other, not issues, but like themes, focuses into her books. And so this one was kind of about our FMC's mom has really bad dementia, and so their whole family's trying to... Have you read this? Okay. I was like, maybe I shouldn't get into this. So did I. Has really bad dementia, and so her family's just kind of trying to figure out how to take care of her. And FMC moves from Minnesota, which is where the MMC lives, to LA. And so there was a lot of really fun, like, California-specific stuff that I feel like I also liked a lot, just because it's fun to read about places you already know. It definitely wasn't my favorite Abby Jimenez, but I don't think I, like, had the same hatred for it that I feel like a lot of people have had. So, yes, I gave it 4 stars as well.
Yeah, I definitely liked it. I didn't like it as much as some of the other ones, but yeah, it got a lot of hate, and I really didn't think... For me, I liked the long distance. I wish there had been a little more of them actually together before it ended, because I felt like the majority of it was long distance, and I just wanted a little bit more. But that's really the only thing that bugged me. But I mean, people were like, "This is terrible." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's calm down a little."
Yeah, and I think... I don't know. I feel like it's really hard, particularly for romance authors. I feel like this doesn't happen as much with writers in other genres. I feel like particularly for romance authors, there's a lot of people who, like, once they have multiple, like, really big hits in a row, like, you can't sustain that forever. So sometimes people aren't going to like a release as much, and that's just how it is, really, with any author. But I mean, I feel like romance authors get, like, these really high expectations. Like, I feel like it happened with Emily Henry when Great Big Beautiful Life came out, which I still haven't read yet, so I'll get back to that. But, like, even Funny Story, a lot of people didn't like Funny Story, and they were like, this is not like Happy Place. And I'm like, obviously it's not Happy Place. Like, it's a different book, guys. So, anyway. Whereas I feel
it's the same...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's the same people who are like, "Oh, I hate formulaic romances," but when it's not formulaic, they're like, "This is not a romance." And I'm like, okay, You can't have it both ways. You either have the formula or you have them trying to do something different. Like,
And I feel like if you like a book so much that it's going to be one of your like god tier forever fave 6-star reads, and you have an author that wrote that, that just means you really like the author. It doesn't mean that every book they come out with is going to hit that level for you, nor should it, because if it did, like, if everyone's super, no one will be, you know what I mean? So sometimes you just have to quote The Incredibles. Did you know Michael hasn't seen The Incredibles? Or Tangled? I know. Anyway, Michael's my husband. Maybe not anymore, but
that's it for a little bit. What do you mean you haven't seen The Incredibles?
well, no, Finding Nemo was the first movie that I remember seeing in theaters. But I remember
saw it in theaters too.
I saw The Incredibles 4 times in theaters.
Yeah.
4 times.
I saw The Incredible 2 as an adult in the theaters.
Same. Grant, the town I grew up in didn't have a lot going on. So, like, when you wanted to do something fun, like, you saw movies.
That was
but
it.
4 times. So.
Hey, it's a good movie.
Yes. Anyway, so that's my current read, or a recent read, I guess, because I finished it a while ago. Today's our book club episode. So, friendly reminder to everybody that this is not spoiler free from here on out. So, if you have not read We Who Will Die by Stacia Stark, you should come back to this episode when you have read it, or just plan on getting spoiled if that doesn't bother you.
Do you want me to start with a little summary?
Yes. So, disclaimer that both Brie and I read this in February, and I've read many books since then, and I don't always have the best plot memory on top of that. So, this will be a refresher for all of us.
Yes. I was like, we had planned to film this several weeks ago, but like we said, Hawaii Horror Story happened. Hannah was an invalid. Just, it was a moment in time that happened.
Me filming things from my walker. Yeah.
Like this, laying up, staring at the camera. Okay,
Perfect.
so We Who Will Die is a newer romantasy. It came out, did it come out in January?
I think it was the very end of December.
I was like, it's just in the last like 6 months. And I feel like it's very polarizing. I feel like you either have people who are like, Infinity Stars, the best new romantasy book, or you have people who are like, this sucks. And so, where will we fall?
It says 2026, so you're right. It's in January at some point.
Okay, so yeah, so it's very recent. So basically, also another disclaimer, I am forever a butcherer of names, so I'm going to say all of these probably wrong, but that's okay because I can pronounce them however I want. So our FMC is Arvel Dacian, who knows?
Sure.
And she was in this world that we have, which I don't even remember the name of the world.
I could maybe figure it out. Did we even get a map? You have the Fairyland edition, right?
No, the competition is the Sands. No, I think I actually skipped the month that this came in Fairy Loot because I was trying to save money.
I think this came, maybe it was January or December. Sometimes they do them early.
I think it was the December one because that's the one I skipped.
I don't remember. I think that's why I thought it came out in December. Yeah, I got nothing as far as what the world's called.
Nope, I can't find it either. Anyway, so she is a former champion of a gladiatorial competition that was called the Sands.
Gladiatorial?
I know. I looked that word right off of this written thing that I'm reading. And you open up to the world, and she's working as a bodyguard so she can support her two younger brothers, Gareth and Evren.
I liked them.
And yeah, I liked the brothers too. And so basically, Evren has a debilitating sickness, and so she works really hard to try to support him. As the winner of the Sands, she won a big prize pot, but her uncle stole all that money. So now they're basically still poor, even though she won that. And during the Sands, her best friend died in like the final battle, and she like watched her best friend die. So girl's got a lot of PTSD, trying to keep her family alive. Her mother sucked. She's gone. She's the mother figured out for these two boys. It's not a fun situation for her.
And, I mean, this isn't probably relevant to your summary, but it'll come up later. The Sands is just a competition. Like, it wasn't a to the death competition, so her and her best friend could have, like, both lived. It wasn't had to be one or the other type thing.
Can kill people, but you don't have to. So obviously that person was just a jerk and was like, let me murder. Anyway, so she's working as a bodyguard, and in this world there are the like normal-ish people, and then there's vampires, and there's also some kind of
the normies and the vampires.
Basically, but they have like the magic system didn't fully make sense to me. I'm gonna say that. So I don't know if it made better sense to Hannah, and she could explain this better. But
probably, but I don't remember it.
The human people are sigil marked, and their sigils give them powers, but not everyone has a sigil.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they grow and sometimes they don't, and they're different colors, and the different colors mean different things, but we also don't know all of the colors or what all they mean at this point.
It's supposed to be, if I remember correctly, there's like, different colors, and then there's like the metallic ones. So like gold, silver, and bronze sigils are supposed to be the like strongest, most special or whatever. But supposedly, like, as you grow your magic or whatever, your sigil is supposed to like expand. And so just because you have like a gold sigil, for example, I don't remember what color Arvel's is. Is it gold?
She's gold.
So even though she has a gold sigil, that doesn't mean anything because she doesn't use it. So hers doesn't like grow at all. So she's not.
But I also think that technically her powers haven't manifested yet.
Oh yeah,
so she
and
thinks,
they have to manifest.
Yeah, and she thinks she'll never get them because they haven't yet. So she's just like, I'm a fluke. There's a word for it. I cannot remember what it was.
It's like
that
a
they call
squib. I mean, it's
yeah,
not.
they
but...
like people who have sigil.
Sorry.
I was like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. So,
but
all
point
this
being,
happens,
like, just because she has a gold sigil doesn't mean anything because if you're not like actually able to use it, then what are you? What's the point of you? But she's like Bree said, a very trained fighter. So
yeah, because she won a competition and she's really good at that. And her best friend that died, her dad is the one that trained Arvel and her best friend Cassia for the competition. So she's very skilled. But she got really hurt. I think it was her ankle. So now she's not as fit in whatever. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Athletic, capable, badass.
Whatever. She's not that good at running right now because her ankle's hurt.
Same girl, but my ankles aren't hurt.
And so she goes to buy medicine for her brother and finds out that all the medicine that he needs is sold out. And she's like, what's happening? What's going on? So she gets home, and that's when she's basically cornered by this vampire named Braun, however you want to say it.
I think I was saying Bran in my head.
I think I was too.
I was also reading Game of Thrones at the time.
So he's like, oh, you need some medicine. Look what I have here. He has all the medicine. He got it. And he's basically like, I need you to be my champion in this new competition that's happening. And the new competition is where it's called the Sundering. And it's where people compete to then be like on the King's Guard or other like higher positions. And so he's like, you have to go compete in that and win and then kill the Emperor. And I'll give you all the medicine for your brother. And she's like, no, why would I do that? And he's like, well, your brother's going to die if you don't. So then she's like, oh, okay, I'll do it. So then she shakes his hand and she decides to do it because she wants to save her brother's life. So, and during all this, there's also some flashbacks to her childhood that come into play later. So she gets there, she meets, what's his name? His name's Tiernan, but he's called something else.
He's like the captain of the
Primus.
guard.
The Primus. That's what it is.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I was saying Primus in my head, and when you said Primus, I thought you said penis, and I was like, I don't think anyone called him that. Like, I really am not sure we read the same
Primus,
book.
Primus, Primus, whatever you want to call it. Basically, but his real name's Tiernan, so that's what I'm going to call him. You learn that he's Tiernan later on. This book club episode is a mess. Anyway, you learn his name is Tiernan, and you also learn that he's the little boy that's been in all the flashbacks she's been having.
So they
Second
were like
chance. They
and
were
she
friends.
didn't know that he was that guy.
So he is actually the son of the Emperor, and she knew that he was a vampire son of someone higher up, but she didn't know how high up. And she also meets his brother, Rorik, who is my personal favorite. He's like the bad boy, the Damon Salvatore, and he's kind of a jerk. And she thinks he's really evil. And guess what? He probably is, but that's okay. Anyway, so obviously there's a setup for a little love triangle between them, but I don't really feel like it was developed that well.
I honestly thought that Bran or Carrion, her, like, we didn't mention him, but he's her, like, bestie who is clearly, like, in love with her, but he's gonna take care of her brothers, supposedly, while she's in the Sundering. I thought those two were gonna be, like, because there was, like, some weird sexual... we'll get into what I thought of this, but yeah, it didn't end up being them at all. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess.
So I definitely think it's going to be the brothers. I actually ruined that for Hannah because I was like...
Yeah, you don't find out that they're brothers till, like, halfway
I was like,
through.
he's in a love triangle with his brother. And Hannah was like, what? And I was like, oh, well. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Whoops.
Yeah. And then you were like, well, I think you find out soon. And it was like another 150 pages before we found out. But
I was like, I'll make it better. It's happening any page now.
I figured out, I mean, they don't really hide the ball at all. Like, it's very obvious from the beginning that the Primus is Tiernan, I think.
I think so.
And then, I mean, knowing that they're brothers now, I feel like it's not that difficult to, like, piece together. But I didn't, like, know that. So, anyway.
So basically the rest of the book is their time in the Sundering and the gladiator fights. And then after that, everything that's happening. And it gets to a big cliffhanger at the end. What's going to happen? No one knows. So, but her whole goal is to try to kill the Emperor, who's an evil dude, so that she can get the life-saving tonic for her brother. Her 2 brothers are now being held by these other vampires until she does what she said she needs to do. But there's also some weird, like, sacrifices going on. It kind of reminded me of the
Throne of Glass with the Ritter
Yeah,
Act.
in the first book with all of the, like, trials that she goes through where, like, random competitors are being killed, and they're like, "How?" And then it's revealed they've been, like, being sacrificed to this thing. Like, that was very much the exact same thing that happened here, which that doesn't bother me, like, 'cause we've talked about fantasy. There's only so many fantasy plots, I feel like, so some things are going to be similar. But I think because I wasn't enjoying this as much as what I wanted to, that really stood out to me. I was like, oh, this is just like that one time.
But worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead, sorry, I wasn't trying to cut
tell
you
what
off.
you think about this, what your rating was, what you thought. We'll start there.
Yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. I think kind of the highlight for me was that it was very entertaining, but I had a lot of problems with it. But nothing was like a deal breaker for me. Captain just rolled off the book neck chair on her and was looking at me like it was my fault. I think one of my biggest issues with it is that I felt like there were a lot of characters and subplots that didn't need to be there and didn't seem to be relevant to like the main story and not developed enough to qualify as like a B plot. And so that was really frustrating because it was hard to keep track of who to care about, which kind of gets to like what we were talking about during the summary, where I thought the love interests were going to be Carrion and Bran, and then Bran like turned evil and Carrion never showed up again, barely. And I don't know, I didn't love that aspect, and I also didn't feel like we were super creative about the like trial situation. Why don't you guys just have like normal job interviews? Like, why do we have to have like deadly trials for like everything? Like, it's just which is fine. I mean, I thought when we picked this book, my understanding was that it was supposed to be like loosely based off of Roman mythology with like gladiators and all that. And there were elements of it for sure, but I thought like it was basically just like the naming conventions were in Latin. And that was basically it. Like, I didn't think it was super great at like picking one thing to do well. I thought it did a lot of things averagely. But it also doesn't help that I read Firebird by Juliet Cross not that far before I read this one. And that one's also Roman based, like mythology wise, and that did an excellent job with the world building. And so it's kind of what you just said, like it's hard not to compare it to something and feel like it's falling short, even though they are their own 2 distinct books.
Yeah.
How about you?
No,
Rating? General
definitely.
thoughts?
When I'm reading a book, like if I'm loving it, then I don't care if it's a little similar. Like I won't even notice it. But if I'm not loving it, then I'm gonna notice it. So I gave this 3 stars. It was a solid book. I think my biggest problems are a lot in line in what Hannah struggled with. One, to me, it felt like 6 different books in one, but not like complete books, like starts of books. And then we just suddenly like moved to something else. And I was like, wait, what? Like I thought the gladiator like trials and competitions, like I thought that was going to be the majority of the book. And I really feel like it was like 150, 200 pages, and then we were done. And I was like, well, what are we going to do for the next 200 pages that we got going on? Like,
Yeah.
why are the trial, like, if you've read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that's how I felt that in that book, like, when The Hunger Games literally was like 50 pages out of this 400-page book, and I was like, well, The Hunger Games are the best. That's the whole point
Where
of the
else
book.
do we have to go?
Yeah. What does that happen? And so that's exactly, I was like, the competition's already over and she's won, and now what? And so I feel like that, like, I enjoyed the competitions and the trials, and then it kind of went off the rails for me because to me it just felt like that was really rushed. And then also, like you said, there were so many characters, like Jorah was introduced, and I thought he was going to be the guy in like the walls.
I had a note about him.
And I thought he was going to be this big thing, and then I was like, what was the point of him?
I put Jorah is annoying.
I like thought he was going to have like a big role. The way he was like introduced and stuff is like being in the walls and like, and then I don't know. I just thought that made no sense to me.
That's another one that like he didn't need to be there at all. Like I feel
Yeah.
like you could have accomplished the same thing with her finding like the wyvern in the like garden or whatever without Jorah ever even showing up.
And that's what I was like, if he's not going to have a role, why is he have a name and he pops up like 3 times and does nothing? And she acts like he's her best friend. She's like, Jorah, I've missed you so much. I'm like, you don't even know this dude. You talked to him for 3 minutes inside the walls. Like, what do you mean? Like, why are you so upset about his feelings? I was just like, I don't understand that. And then the love triangle, like for me, I could obviously tell it was very like Vampire Diaries coded, in my opinion. Like you have Tiernan, who's the one who always tries to do right. He's very Stefan. And then you have Rorik, who does what he wants and everyone hates him, but he's probably trying to overthrow and do the good thing. Just the way he does it is and justify the means. So very Damon coded. So obviously I'm gonna root for Rorik because that's who I am as a person. But
I really
yeah.
liked both of the brothers, actually. I didn't think,
No,
like you said, that the romance was developed super well in either camp. And I think in a large part that's because there was so much else going on that the author was trying to juggle telling us about that I don't understand it. And I also think she kind of like created a lot of plot holes with all the people. Because like, the whole beginning, the whole thing is that Arvel's so, like, desperate for treatment. She'll do anything, blah, blah, blah. Here's this vampire. Oh, he threatened me, but I'm not going to say yes, and, like, all this stuff. And then you see this scene of, like, this is the one time her buddy, I think his name was Carrion, but I could be wrong about that,
it's something like that.
shows up and is like, I'll marry you, and I have enough money, and I'll provide for you. And I'm like, why would she not say yes to that if she's supposedly so desperate and they're friends? Like, wouldn't you just, I don't know. That bothered me. And then I also think this might have been resolved in a way that I just didn't catch, but she wasn't able to talk about her, like, bargain with Bran at all. Like, was magically, like, prevented from doing that until the Emperor's dead. But he's not dead after she, like, tries to kill him, but ends up killing whatever that other guy's name was, who was
Tobias?
Yeah, I think it was Tiberius. Maybe it was Tobias. I don't know, but
No,
that guy.
I think it was like Tiberius or something. I think there was an R in there.
And so she kills him instead, thinking that it's the Emperor. But then she starts being able to, like, talk about her deal with other people. And so I'm confused how that happened. Yeah.
Tiberius.
And then I had put, which we talked about this already a little bit with the whole brothers reveal, but I thought the reveal itself of them being brothers was really, like, anticlimactic because I was, like I said, waiting for it for like 150 pages since I knew that this was coming. And I feel like she figured it out and then she, like, announced it and then it's just, like, immediately confirmed and everyone's like, yeah. And I'm like, how was that not, what? I don't know.
I also don't understand why it was such a big secret the whole time. Once she figured out that he was the Emperor's son, I was like, obviously that's his brother. So why is this, like, you know that he is the son of the Emperor? Like, I don't know. It just felt to me like, why have we not put two and two together way before this time? Because
yeah, I think I too had, like, a general problem with Arvel in the sense that she's one of those characters where, like, she figures everything out just by, like, thinking about it. And it's like, I find that a little bit boring and tiresome to read because I'm like, I should be at least as smart, if not smarter, than the main character when I'm reading a book because I'm supposed to theoretically have more information, unless the trope is that the narrator is unreliable. But even then, like, that's gotta be clear, whereas she's clearly supposed to be the most reliable and she's so smart and look, she figured everything out 5 different times and I got kind of sick of that.
So yeah. I also feel like the, like, magic system and the god system and all that just wasn't, the world building was really lacking for me personally. Like in some things, like with the layout of the castle, I feel like that world building was done really well because we got to learn, like, the different rooms and the walls and all that. But, like, how the magic actually works, the different gods that control things, and the weird sacrifice that was going on, like, I just felt like it wasn't developed enough for me personally to enjoy. Like, I was just kind of lost at times.
I agree, because I think that the world did have a lot of potential and the idea was really cool and it had, like, it could have been really interesting if we weren't so focused on, like, all this other stuff.
Yes.
And I feel like there were a lot of themes that were kind of, like, dropped in there that weren't fleshed out either. Like, kind of this whole not battle, but, like, struggle of the sigil marked versus the vampires is that the vampires can't go out in the sun, and allegedly the sigil marked can, like, do some spell to, like, make them able to do it, but they don't. And so the vampires assume it's because the sigil marked hate them and, like, want to keep them down or whatever. But if vampires go out in the sun, they, like, develop this, like, sun sickness type thing, which
They go
I felt,
crazy.
yeah, it was, like, really getting towards, like, addiction, but then it wasn't, like, really discussed or talked about much ever, especially when, like, the main vampire that we know of, well, besides, like, the brothers, but is Rory, or is Bran, and he's, like, just kind of an asshole, and you're like, I feel like we could have done more here. And I feel like this was, like, the start of a series if you crammed, like, the first 2 or 3 books into one.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that is frustrating to me because if you're going to like pace out a trilogy or even more books than that, like there's got to be enough content to spread over that amount of time that's like makes for good pacing, good reveals. We don't know everything at the beginning and there's not all of these like randomly dropped things all at once.
This is the same thing that I like complain about in Fourth Wing, where it felt like we did all these big battles in the first book, and I'm like, what is going on? You know, you don't fight Voldemort in the Sorcerer's Stone.
Not every battle can be the most epic one. Yeah.
You've got to build it up. And instead, I feel like a lot of romanticies in today's world are doing these huge things in book one with these big cliffhangers. And then in book two, they got to try to backtrack it because they're not ready for the series to end. So they're like, how do I go back? Like the whole reveal about Braun or whatever being like related to them. Like that was just kind of like dropped and then brushed over. He's like the king's like bastard son or whatever. Like it's dropped in there.
I forgot that happened until right now.
Yeah, because it's like, that seems like a huge thing, and then it's kind of just like mentioned and then done. And I was like, I feel like that should be, I don't know. It's just things like that where it's like, there are these big reveals and big moments that should add to the plot, and instead they're so rushed that you don't even remember them.
And I think it creates this environment where even though it's supposed to be high stakes, it feels low stakes because there's so much and then you just don't care because how can you possibly care about all 19 things at once that are happening? I feel like we've just like bashed on it a lot. I did really enjoy reading the book because I felt like it had a really breakneck pace and like a lot that was keeping me interested. I just wish we would have gotten more development and resolution and maybe a little bit more focus on like the things that actually could have been dealt with well rather than just everything all at once. It's kind of the romantasy equivalent of like Catherine Center books for me sometimes where I'm like, there's just a lot that you're trying to do here and I wish you would do less better, you know?
Yeah. No, that's overall, I gave this a 3, which for me, I know some people say 3 stars are bad, but for me, a 3 is a solid book. It's not a book that I loved, but I didn't hate it. Yeah, I liked it. It was solid. I feel like it has a lot of potential. I am not going to write off this series until I read the next book, and if the next book is really similar, I may be done with the series. Although it's really hard for me to not finish series, although there are a few that I don't think I'll ever finish, so.
It's probably easier if you've now read this close to when it first came out, because it's not going to be like, now I feel like I have to binge all the books at once because you literally can't. So maybe it'll taper off.
So we'll see. I think there's a lot of potential for the story. Yeah. It just depends on how she's going to execute it in the next book.
My one last thought on this too was that there was like this kind of general, I wouldn't say like theme as much as just like feature, but that she always has felt like she can't keep like friends. And this girl, Maeva, was like, supposedly there was this whole like friendship betrayal thing, but then it got like resolved immediately. And I wanted more from her and she just wasn't around at all, it seemed like.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the relationships felt really superficial, but we were supposed to believe that they were like these deep things. And I was like,
it was all
really
telling rather than showing. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
we're so close. And it's like, okay, I would rather have conversations that demonstrate that. Lots of internal dialogue too. Not dialogue, narrative.
Yeah, it's like if you've read From Blood and Ash and you got annoyed with how much Poppy just talks in her head about nonsense. It was very similar to that. And I am not a fan of Poppy's inner monologue in From Blood and Ash, and I wasn't a fan here. Like, sometimes inner monologues are needed, but there comes a point where it's like, move on. Something else has got to happen.
You got to do something.
I'm like, I don't like to listen to my own thoughts that often. I don't want to listen to yours.
Yeah. So I think all in all, probably not our best book club pick, but I am glad that we read it. I mean, I think it was one that was on my list and I wanted to like check off regardless just because the premise sounded really interesting. And it was. It just wasn't maybe living up to its full potential, we'll say.
Yes. But we'll see where the next book goes. Maybe we'll love it. Maybe it'll be the same.
Yeah. I feel like I just rate so much on personal enjoyment that like if I'm having a good time, it'll probably be at least a 4 stars.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Generally not bad ratings from either one of us, though.
No. It's solid. Okay, before we close out, I don't know why I did this dramatic hand motion, but we're just going to go with it. Before we close out, we're going to tell you what our book club announcement
reminds me of like Voldemort when he's holding his wand, you know? It's very like...
Okay, anyway.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's make sure that makes it into a clip somewhere.
Our book club for April will be, drumroll, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which I have actually already read and loved. I'm going to reread it, but Hannah has not read it, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where it's so popular that I just don't pick it up.
She's a contrarian. She's like, can't love what other people love.
I have read and loved every other Kristen Hanna that I've...
Minus Comfort and Joy.
Yeah, that was discomfort and sorrow. Sorry. But I hear great things about this. So I would say my favorite is The Great Alone. And I feel like a lot of people that like The Great Alone also love The Nightingale. So I
Yes.
expect to love it.
I think this is
Knock on
probably
wood.
my second or third favorite Kristen Hanna. The Great Alone was also my favorite, which it was my first, so I think I just have a really special place in my heart for it. I love that book. But The Nightingale, so good. I cried so hard. The writing is so rich. I cannot wait to reread it and to talk about it with you guys.
I think we'll have a lot to dissect. So we're excited about that. But join us next week. Our episode schedule is a little bit wonky now due to us taking a much needed break. But we will see you guys next week with something. Oh, it's going to be our Q1 wrap up. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
We
We've
don't
yet
do
to film.
what? Yeah.
I was like, we've yet to film that, but it's coming.
Well, we haven't finished Q1 yet. So yeah, but that's because we don't do monthly wrap ups on here. We kind of figured we would do a quarterly one just so you can hear a little bit more about what we're reading as opposed to just like one book a week in our intros. So
be ready. We got lots of opinions.
You're so funny. Saddle up. Thanks so much for coming, and we will see you next week, guys.
Bye, guys.
That's it for today's episode of Chapter Chats. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chapter Chats Pod.
And you can find me, Bree, at Brazen and Bookish on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And you can find me, Hannah, at Bookshelvish on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Substack.
Or you can email us at chapterchatspod@gmail.com with book recommendations, episode ideas, or just to say hi.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, follow, and subscribe on your favorite platform.
Catch you next chapter.